Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I am June Rawl, your IPDAE director here today to help facilitate our webinar, Enhancing Learning Outcomes with IPDAE's new RLA Matrix Instructional Suite. I know you all are very familiar with the matrices, and I think you're going to really enjoy this online lookup tool because it just takes all of the hard work out of aligning and correlating with the adult education frameworks. So facilitating our webinar today is Ron Cruz. He will be facilitating our webinar, but let me just go over a few little housekeeping things to remember. Your microphones are muted. You are in the listen only mode. Today's presentation is being recorded like all IPDAE webinars are recorded and archived on the IPDAE website within 48 hours. If you have a question, please, put it in the Q&A. Ron and I will be monitoring it throughout. And it's my honor to welcome Mr. Ronald Cruz to our webinar today. Ron, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you so much. You never failed, June, to put a smile on my face.
Oh.
Thank you for that warm welcome. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for tuning in this afternoon for another wonderful product that we're rolling out. And just like what June said, we have developed an updated, revised, newly improved, fully aligned instructional matrix suite for you guys to use, because you guys used the previous version of the matrix so well, and then a lot of people has come to me and say, now that our standards have been revised, now how is this matrix gonna look? How could we still use the old matrix, or are we gonna wait again several years before this comes through? But we had the foresight at Florida IPDAE that we knew how important this tool was for every adult educator. And so we realized that rolling out the new standards without the matrix to come along with it is very, very important. And we prioritize that at Team IPDAE. With that said, I'm going to go over this new matrix suite, instructional suite with you. Today, we're going to go over reading in language arts. And then next Wednesday, we are going to go over math. So if you're also interested in that component, feel free to tune in or register for that webinar through your Florida IPDAE portal account. But as for today, because we wanted to dive in and see really what RLA looks like, I wanted to take my time so I can go over the changes. I can go over the new tools, the accessibilities, and things like that, because we also have made several improvements on the activity resources that is bundled in with this matrix. So we're going to talk about how our curriculum frameworks has been changed, as of this current academic year. We're also going to talk about the matrix and how we develop the matrix based off of the new adult education curriculum frameworks. And then last but not the least, we'll cap it off with all of the ancillary materials that comes along with the matrix, such as the activity resources. Just like any other webinar, and just like what June said, feel free to type in at any time into your Q&A tab to ask any particular question. I might run through something very quickly or may not cover a particular component that from the previous matrix that you want to learn how it transitioned into this new matrix. Feel free to type it into the chat, and please remind me, this is your training. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start with the changes to our curriculum frameworks. If you haven't been tuning in, or if you haven't been updated with all of these changes, I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the most significant changes to the curriculum frameworks so that you're up to date. And then from these changes on the frameworks, we're going to walk you through how it's going to look and how it changed our curriculum matrix. All right, so background is, why did we make the change? We made the change because it's based off of the Executive Order 1932, signed by our governor, eliminating Common Core and really putting Florida at the forefront of future jobs and workforce. So our goal as a state is to become the top 10 economies in the world by 2030. And in order to reach that goal, we have to start with the standards, because the standards pave the way to everything else we do in the classroom. The K-12 side already adopted the K-12 best standards. You can think of our new revised curriculum frameworks as our version of the best standards for adult education. So with the new standard comes specific changes. There has been some changes in the terminology used and also the organization. And we're going to dive into what the organization, exactly how the organization of the standards are revised or changed in greater detail on the next coming slides. But there are also some changes in how we call things. This also, I also want to preclude that by saying that there also has been some elimination of certain standards that, based on research, does not lead directly to employability skills or things that the workforce needs. We also had some combination standards that we had to do. So we had to combine standards because some of them overlap too much, that it's just best to eliminate one standard and integrate it to another. So really, you're not losing the best of it. We're just seamlessly integrating the standards together so that they don't seem like they're redundant. Okay? So you're going to, when you start looking and reading through the standard, you're going to see less and less standards because we've started to eliminate redundancy or overlap or significant overlapping by integrating or combining standards into one. Anyway, that's how we teach our students. We never teach students in silos. Usually when we teach a lesson, we overlap or we integrate multiple standards together, such as reading and writing, or speaking and listening. Now, there's also some adaptation and changes to the level when it comes to the K-12 best. But we kept the level at the same level. We kept the standard at the same level to follow and be able to align to the previous ABE framework, so that there is some level of consistency into, okay, well, you don't have to come up with new material. You can still continue using your previous year's material, but with slight tweaks to them because of the combination and the revisions on the terminology and organization. So you're going to feel that once you start looking into it. I suggest you go into the Florida Department of Education website and download your own copy of the Adult Basic Education Reading Through Language Art or Reasoning Through Language Arts Standards, or RLA, and start perusing through. The link to the Adult Education website where you can download is part of your PowerPoint presentation. So let's start and diving really deep into what these actual changes are. As you already know, in the previous ABE frameworks, you have a separate framework for reading and then another framework for language arts. In the current framework, the one that we're using right now, the new ABE Reasoning Through Language Arts framework, they're already combined together. They're integrated. So you will no longer see these two subject areas split. They're now going to be combined into one curriculum framework. Now, we're not going to talk about a AAAE and academic skills building. That's a conversation for a different day. but a similar change has been happening in those areas as well. So what is new is what you're going to see is more continuity and clear vertical projections of the skills across the levels of ABE. We also made the language more simplistic so that you are able to use the same wording of the standards with your students, and they would understand exactly what the standards are looking for or asking students to do. In terms of the speaking and listening skills, we took the speaking and listening skills and integrated it with reasoning through language arts as well. So you now have 4 modalities integrated into this framework. You will have reading, foundational reading, which is part of reading. You'll have language, which includes grammar and writing. You have speaking and then listening. 4 integrated standards altogether into one. It's just like a combo meal. Several new benchmarks are actually added in to the new RLA as part of us moving forward and covering the areas that we feel like it's very important for us to cover. Not only does it promote critical thinking, but it also helps our students gain employment. And 2 of those examples are rhetoric, which helps our students improve their critical thinking skills. And then we also included, you will start seeing that there are some standards that focus on students' handwriting and improving that handwriting. That is a skill that is also very important to employers. So there's also, within the standards themselves, there has been some consolidation that's happening. So there's not so much of a change on the reading and the reading foundation strands, but there is a combination that's happening between writing, language, speaking, and listening. So if you're looking for a writing standard, language, or grammar standard, you're looking for speaking and listening standard, you're all going to see them all in one section all together, and they're bundled under the strand of communication. Now, one of the other things I was very happy about, being an adult ESOL and a reading teacher as well, and a math teacher, is the addition of a new strand. You're going to notice that we have vocabulary strand, which was not there before, being added to our current standards. I cannot overestimate the importance of the vocabulary standard to be integrated in our reasoning through language arts, because without vocabulary, you're not going to be able to promote any of the 4 modalities for language. I think we have a question right here. I'm going to answer those questions and comments as we go, but let me just finish through this one more slide with this underlying principles, and then I'm going to circle back with your questions. Keep those questions coming. I am not ignoring you. Okay, I'm just want to stick through my script for a little bit, cover all that I need to cover, and then recap with your questions. So the framework that, if you ask the Department of Education, if you ask Florida IPDAE, how these new standards were developed, these were our underlying principles, okay? So these are the things that are guiding our ideas on how we're going to put Florida to the top 10 by 2030, right? So working with grade level complex text is very important. You interact with complex text not only at home, but also at work, okay? So we also wanted to ground responses in evidence from text, because based on statistics and data, that this will help improve their chances of passing the GED test, which is highly focused on evidence from text. So we are revising the standards at the ABE level to point towards that direction, so that as students move into level 4 from ABE and move into GED prep programs, that they already have this scaled down pat. Building the knowledge of the world. So meaning we established standards that will open up resources and information and text all across. Developing research and technologies for success. So technology is now taking over and it's been a part of our lives for quite some time now. And also in education, therefore, that's also being added. Again, we're not going to reach top 10 by 2030 without the technology skills we need. Foundational literacy skills, as we found, is the very most important integration here, since we are doing away with literacy skills at the adult English speakers of other languages side, focusing on vocabulary, I already explained that earlier, and engaging deeply with informational text, which they're going to encounter most at the workplace, at the career technical training programs, or in an IET program that they're coming into. So we're thinking about all of these things as we made those revision, and you will see those and you will feel those changes as you read through the standards. So I'm going to pause right here and see what we have on the questions. June, do we have anything here that we need to address? Yes, in terms of certificates, you will have a record of participation in this training or in this webinar, and it will be stored in your IPDAE portal account. So you go into your portal activity, and that will show all of your webinars that you've attended in the IPDAE website. Good question, though. Perfect. So now we're going to go over the matrix. Aren't they beautiful? They are so pretty, so precise, so neat, and they have everything. So you will have everything in one spread, in one poster. So Florida IPDAE has developed 3 matrices for the ABE and the ESOL side. So we have 2 separate matrices, one for reasoning through language arts and another matrix for math, which we'll discuss next week, Wednesday. So please register for that webinar as well. We'd love to see you there. And then we've also, something that we never had last year or previous years, is the matrices for adult ESOL. Now you will see a lot of similarities in wording and in standard between the Florida adult English speakers of other languages, or ESOL, and language arts, but the organization is very different. So you'll notice that just by looking at the colors and also the organization. All right. So for today's webinar, we are focusing on reasoning through language arts, and that's what we're going to do right now. So who has the time to read the standards? The standards, let me warn you, has 16 pages. It has 4 levels, 4 strands, 32 content standards, and over 90 benchmarks. Okay, you're going to read. As a teacher, I don't know about you, I need to get down and dirty. I need to know already what I need to do when I come to class. I don't want you to beat around the bush. Don't give me 1,000 pages if you can summarize what you need to know in one. Okay, so that's what we heard you. We heard you. We know that you don't have the time to read through pages and pages. You're not a curriculum person. You are going to be a teacher. So if you're a teacher, tell me what to teach. Go straight to the point, but give me a pathway, so that I don't have to create the wheel myself. So we've, again, developed the 3 different types of matrices that we have right now, which we're going to cover RLA today. Next week, we're going to cover math, and then ESOL is available for everybody to download anytime. It's not available through the Florida IPDAE website. You can download 2 different versions, like a paper version, a printer version, or a poster version, and we're going to show you how to do that later on. So RLA is our focus for today. Now, if you look at the matrices, okay, what you're going to notice is this is a snippet of one section of the matrix pulled from the RLA matrix. So I pulled the reading informational text, that one particular section, and I blew it up here. Hopefully you can read it. I think it's clear enough on my end. So what you're going to notice is as you read through the same level, meaning if you're looking at the standards that belong to the same NRS level, excuse me, you will notice something. Okay? What you're going to notice is there's that vertical alignment between the topics that you are teaching at the same level. This also narrows you down to what do I need to cover at this level in order for my students to be successful, and what do I need to cover in order for my students to be successful and demonstrate performance on standardized assessments. So the vertical columns, you will see all of the level specific standards that you need to be teaching by level. Okay, and now as you read across, so right here, just like in this example, I highlighted the central idea section. I'm going to do something extra special with the central idea. But if you see that and you read across, you will notice how the topic of central idea is being developed and improved across each level. So starting off with, if you're only level 1, you just need to know and identify the topic and relevant details. When you are at level 2 now on ABE, you need to be able to not only identify the central idea, but explain relevant details that support that. So you're going to try to make the connection between that central idea and the supporting details. Now at level 3 NRS, not only will you able to do that, you should be able to do that, but you must be able to do that whether the central idea is explicitly stated on the text or not. And last but not the least, at the highest level of NRS, at NRS level 4, not only should you be able to identify relevant details and supporting ideas and explain the relationship, whether it's implied or explicit, but you need to be able to do that with 2 or more texts. So you see how the levels of proficiency is very evident at each level of NRS, and the teacher knows exactly where they need to move the student forward. So this matrix comes really handy for anyone that teaches multiple subject areas, or also that teaches multiple levels of students. Now I'm going to pause right here. What do you think, guys? What do you think is the implication of the matrix now that I explained to you the arrangement and how it looks by reading just through a snippet of the matrix? What do you think? How will your organization use this? How would you utilize such a powerful tool like this? Okay. So I'm going to try to put it into the chat. What do you think is the use of this matrix? How useful this is for your organization, for your classroom, for your daily instruction? I'm going to check back on the chat or the Q&A in a bit. Very good. Thank you so much for that comment. It'll be easier, one of the comments said, it'll be easier to identify topics relevant to all levels. So you're not overdoing, you know where your limit is, you're not overworking a particular topic, you know what you need to be able to cover based on the level that you teach, and you also need to know where you're building up to. That's a really good comment. Yes, very good. encouraging critical thinking is another aspect that's going to be really useful when you're looking at the matrix, because now I can see, okay, if this is the if this is the skill that I need to master in order to make gains on the TABE, CASAS goals, or GED, I can map it how to get there. I know which standards I need to master first, and then to get and achieve the goal. Another comment would be narrowing on specific skills. The individuals need you at all levels. Correct. So I would take this matrix, print it out, and give it to the students and say, hey, you're a level 3 now. So go through this list. Do you think you're demonstrating mastery in all of these skills? Or highlight some of the skills you don't feel like you haven't fully mastered, and then those are the skills that we're going to work on, so we can move you over to the next level. And exactly empowering the students. Put the onus back to the students, right? In order to be successful in adult education, this is your roadmap. So that's really what this is. It's a roadmap, not just for the teachers, but also for the students. Targeting your instruction, targeting your assessment. And so now, if you're following the matrix, you are following the standards, the new standards that is implementation this year. Very good. Thank you for all of those comments. These are some of the things that I probably mentioned already, some of them, but we're just going to go over, see some of the constructional considerations is, you're taking in a new student and I say, hi, welcome. Based on your testing, you are placed at level 2 of NRS, reading and language arts. So here, take a quick look. These are the things that you're going to be learning at this level. Okay, so I just want you to know and be prepared. Now, as you go and master these skills or demonstrate mastery towards standardized assessment, we're going to check off each one, and that comes in when you see the checklist there. They can see how many times did a student say, why do we need to learn this, right? Why do we need to read this? Why do we have to cover rhetoric? You will notice now, the students will notice, and the teacher as well, of course, will see the clear connections between the topics that they're teaching on day to day. So if you want to be able to compare text or complex text at the GED level, you need to know central idea and supporting details at the lower levels. Scaffolding is very important. A lot of teachers find that students need a lot of support for particular skills. Students that have students that are struggling readers, they need some scaffolding. So what skills, what content, what standards are you using to strengthen those reading skills? And your matrix is going to be a roadmap, backtracking what foundational skills support a particular skill or standard, and then work from the bottom. It allows you to chunk content altogether, because you can see the clump of context, like, oh, I can teach this together with this. Let me put them in the same color. And then now you have your own roadmap that only you can, decipher, okay? But it could also function as a pacing guide, a color-coded pacing guide for you. And which allows you to chunk content together, so therefore you're able to cover more standards over time. Differentiation is another thing. So if you want to use the matrix for differentiation, feel free to do that. What I would do is I would give each student a copy of the matrix, go through their assessment reports, and highlight the ones that they're showing great areas of mistakes or errors. Okay, and then now I can group students together based on how their matrix looks and which areas they've colored or which ones are not colored. So that differentiation allows me instantly as a teacher, okay, I can put you two together and develop a mini lesson for you to address this particular skill you're struggling with. You can also anticipate struggle points. So now also this, it's an excellent planning tool. I would write notes in there and say, okay, this is a common mistake the students make at this level, in this skill. So I'm going to work my way from the bottom and eliminate and try to undo those misconceptions before they get here. So you're already anticipating struggle points. So if you're studying the matrix over time, you're going to be like, I know the matrix like the back of my hand. So then now you can diagnose or anticipate struggle points for your student, and you can prepare for those struggle points. Really closing the achievement gap is the goal of the matrix, okay? It's allowing the students to take ownership for their learning, to be able to monitor and track their learning. It also allows the teacher to plan interventions as needed because they can clearly see that in the matrix, and then also student grouping. So if you don't understand how these instructional considerations are playing out, I'm going to show you some examples of how I've been using the matrix. So I use the matrix for my planning. So when I'm planning lessons, I write the weeks. Okay, this is what I'm going to cover week 1, week 2. So I'm chunking them. I'm aligning them to other modalities that I need to cover at the same time. So you're only getting one snippet, but you're going to notice that week 1 will have more. It just doesn't cover structure and central idea. It will also have language in there, or communication. It will have speaking and listening in there combined as well within the week 1. So now I can look at it and say, okay, I have a clear map and I can do the checklist. And me as a teacher, I can see, hey, I'm getting through things. And then, of course, if students don't master a particular skill, you may have to adjust, but at least you know how to adjust the rest of the map and which areas can you make some adjustment, and you can free up additional time. So this is how I would use that, And so here's another one. Here's another example where I used, remember when I told you scaffolding differentiation, I have my students take their score report and then color in green the areas that they show mastery, and color in red areas where they do not show mastery. And then so now I can see, okay, I can look at this and then look at your matrix map and say, okay, I know what to help you with. Okay. And then on top of that, I know who to group you with that's also working on the same skill. And then now I can direct all of those resources that help that skill to help you. Because in adult ed, they're going to be all over the place. And it's not best practice to teach to the middle, because you're leaving out a majority of your students. Some of your students may already know that topic, and others may not be ready because they're still struggling with that. So really looking and giving the tools for the teacher to differentiate instruction. Here's another one. This is really, sometimes I do this with my students. It's really for coverage or progression. Sometimes I would give students some formative tests to see if they're progressing over time. I do not wait 70 hours before I realize, oh, they haven't mastered a skill. I need to know today if you've already mastered everything we covered today, and if you need additional remediation. So over time, I will have my students color in green things that they have mastered and they understood. And then other areas where they don't feel comfortable yet, I tell them, do not color it in. That's going to remind me to spiral back and recover these topics and skills with you before you take the test. So, and on the student side, they're seeing, hey, I'm progressing over time because more and more cells are getting colored over time. But it's also their own reflection, whether, okay, can I satisfactorily say I've mastered this particular content standard. And then here's another example where I use the matrix as a checklist. Again, another area where you're a new intake, you're new to adult education, you're scared, you have high levels of anxiety, you don't know what you're getting into. give them the matrix, right? Give them a copy, and then just highlight through these. Imagine how much you can accomplish when you are from level 1 to level 2, and what is expected to do. So this is kind of like a checklist that I do with them at intake. There are some of the skills that you want your upcoming teacher to start concentrating on. And so now you have a little bit of a pulse of the class before you even start on the first day. So lots of benefits for you guys. Again, it's one page. It's a visual representation of the 16-page standards. You see the big picture. We teachers, we like, show me the big picture, right? And the matrix will give you that. It's grouped logically, and it allows you to sequence lessons seamlessly. Where do I go next? What topic should I cover next? Do I just follow the textbook, or is there like a logical sequence that we have where I can only cover skills that are appropriate to the level of the students that I'm teaching? It also emphasizes how each standard relates to one another, so you don't have to keep repeating yourself. Why do you need to use this, or why do we have to cover this topic? It organizes your standards across levels if you teach multiple levels. And then you also know what the foundational skills are, so you can scaffold. And then you also have the next level skill that you're building towards. And last but not the least, it shows how much content is covered at your level. Everything that I've shown you and explained to you with regard to the changes in the standards becomes fully flushed and fully evident at the matrix representation. And then again, for the students, they're going to be on their own. You don't have to show them a syllabus. This is the syllabus, okay? So this is what we're going to cover. We know what areas we need to prioritize. And then we can ask the students, hey, what is your goal? How can we customize the standards to achieve your goal? It enumerates all the skills that you need to be learning and mastering at each level, so there are no surprises for the students. And it also highlights the standards that are tested on standardized assessments. All right, so I've finished covering the matrix. Hopefully you like it. I'm going to tune into the Q&A and see what other comments you guys have there. Oh, yes, there is a question here. Are there any pre-made lesson plans available for this new curriculum? I will take you one step further there and show you the next resource that we are going. So let me just not eliminate the surprise here, or the suspense. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that for each individual cell of the matrix, we have developed what we call an activity resource. So we didn't call it a lesson plan, but you'll understand why we didn't call it a lesson plan, because it gives you a misnomer. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and show you. So first, I'm going to show you how to get there. Okay, so this is an example of a resource activity that what you're looking at right now. This is only the first page. I'm gonna skim through the pages with you once I pull it up. But this is how the resource activity looks like. And just so you know that there is an activity resource for every single cell that you see in the matrix. That's the ultimate goal, is to provide an activity resource for every single one. So if you're a teacher, you have limited planning time, you have no resources, you're out in the middle of nowhere teaching from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. and everybody else has left the building, you have something. Okay, so this is the activity resource that you can go by. Even if you don't have a textbook, you have something to teach with. So let me just go ahead and go over how you access this beautiful, beautiful activity resource that goes along and aligns with your matrix. So when you are visiting the Florida IPDAE website, don't tell me that you don't know where that website is. It's floridaipdae.org. Okay, you go into the top toolbar section and select AE toolbar. And that's boxed in right here on this slide. After that, it'll take you to this page. This page, you can see where exactly you can download the matrix, the entire matrix. And just like I said earlier, there is a letter size matrix, and there's also a poster size. So if you plan to take the matrix, save it on a thumb drive, bring it to UPS or Kinko's or Staples and have it printed however big you want. It could be the same size as your door if you want to, but it could be there's many different options for the size of posters you can make, and you can blow it up. So the poster size, you're not going to lose the it's not going to get pixelated if you're using the poster size, but the poster size is also too big for something that if you only want something in letter form. So if you want something to be blown up without losing the definition, you download the poster size. If you want something for everyday use in the size of a letter or like printer paper, then you download the letter size. It will not eat as much memory or resource on your hard drive, but it's something that can pull up and load very quickly and print. All right, so now enough of that. We're going to go into the electronic matrix and access the activity resources. So you go in and you first have to select what subject you want to download the matrix. Okay, and then so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go ahead and do this live. So I'm going to exit my PowerPoint presentation. Don't worry, I'm going to come back to that. And then this is my live Florida IPDAE website. Okay. So now, like I said, you were going to go into this top toolbar where you have all of your toolbars here. And then, so you're going to go and select AE Toolbox from the choices. And then you're going to select on Curriculum Matrix. Once you selected that, it will take you to this same exact page I provided you earlier. But this time you're going in to select the subject area. And since we're doing RLA, we're going to do language arts. And then you're going to select what level do you teach. I'm going to start at level 2 this time. Let me random a little bit. And then what strand? Oh, I want reading. I want to focus on a reading strand. And then I wanted to do reading informational text. It'll give you some changes. I think it's level 3. Hold on. That I want reading. Wait a minute. Maybe it's under communication. So you have communication strand and vocabulary. Let's go back to level 1. I was looking for central idea and was it loading? Right there, it's central idea right here. Okay, so now we're going into reading informational text. We're going into trying to go and find the central idea because let's say that's what I'm teaching today, okay, based on the matrix. So now you have all of these resources that align to reading informational text, or wherever you see reading informational text in the standards, it'll be flushed out here. Okay, so let's open up this sample activity resource on central idea, and I already have it pulled up for you, and it's not that one. It's the other one. I'm sorry, my Zoom toolbar is in the way. Okay, I'm going to blow it up a little bit for you guys so you guys can read. But you can download this later, so don't worry if I'm going too fast. You have this at your fingertips. You can download it on your phone if you want to. But I'm going to go through it too fast so that you can see the different sections here. So it talks about what topics and standards are going to be covered. It tells you the vertical alignment of standards based on what you see on the matrices, so you know where you're coming from and where you're going to. The next page talks about ideas for developing student understanding and selecting the appropriate text for this particular standard. So it gives you like a guide, for that, and then gives you some teacher tips, okay, for each of the standards that belong and is that where that addresses central idea. And there's more here, so it does that for every single benchmark. Okay, so they describe the appropriate text to be selected, and then what you need to focus on, and then ideas for how to develop your students' understanding. Now, for your IET teachers, this is the brand new component that we're adding into the resource activities, is the contextualization piece. So now if you're an IET teacher, or you're just a teacher who does contextualization to possible careers your students might take after they obtain their high school diploma, here you go. You have all of the applications of central idea in various CTE programs, certified nursing, HVAC, and construction and logistics. After that, you also have tasks for lesson planning. So it's not a lesson plan per se, because we're not saying this is what you're supposed to teach, but it already has all the components of a lesson plan, okay? And it even gives you suggested sample text dependent questions to ask, leading to central idea, okay? And then more questions to ask. So you now have a list of important questions to ask, and how does you flush out, including possible responses that you want to expect from your students. Okay, many questions. And then another component that we added into the activity resource is, again, you asked me, like, how do I differentiate my instruction? Got many levels. We now have the tools and the tricks and the techniques to here already in the document, telling you where to go, what to do. Okay, so these are your differentiation ideas, contextualization ideas, and then aligning it to students' interests. So it has everything you need to teach, right? Or am I not right? Because you're teaching reading. I actually have the questions, I got the guide and how to move the students through and how to flush the lesson, but I'm teaching reading. So I have to have a reading, right? Well, what you can see is that each of the reading standards under the electronic matrix activity resource, there's a supplemental file. Do not ignore that supplemental file. You should download it. That supplemental file is a companion to your activity resource. No longer are you going to be looking for what reading are this activity resource looking for. Remember, on this page, we're looking for it telling us what types of text is relevant for this particular type of benchmark. Well, now we have selected the text for you. Level specific, so we've already leveled them out for you, so you're not selecting a text that's too hard or too easy for your students. It's just the right amount, and then you have the text that you can use to develop the lesson, the full lesson. And as you can see, we're also contextualizing here. Not only are you going to encounter on your supplemental resources, you're also going to see sample informational texts aligned to various careers to support IET programs. So Medicine Plus, this is one informational text you can be using if you want to align to an IET program. And now let's read through this and let's practice finding the central idea and supporting details. So you have all the text you need and all the resources you need, plenty of reading materials. There's also that math involved in here. I'm so happy to see this. Also pictures, diagrams. So it allows the student to interact with multiple components, multiple different formats of text, so you're teaching reading 100%. Okay. I'm just scrolling through slowly here so you can see it's a lot of reading material for you guys. So now you have, now you can say you have everything. Okay? Earlier you did not. I'm going to pause right here and look at the question here that you have. All right, students with disabilities, that is a question that is going to be responded to you directly on the Q&A by either Ms. June Roll, or this is not catered to learning disabilities, but this definitely is the material you should be using to teach learning students with the. We might not have the tools and resources for the teaching method, but you have now the teaching content. Okay. Well, thank you so much for that comment. Yes, that comment that how this aligns. We have, IET always in the back of our minds whenever we develop something here in Florida IPDAE. Team IPDAE is always cognizant of your pain points, and we know IET is one of them. I know certain school districts here in Florida and state colleges have hired several or started several new IET programs. We want to make sure that these IET teachers have the tools they need to also start and implement their IET programs. Now, I have gotten to the point of, I think I've covered everything so far with you guys, and I'm very happy to really be the one to roll out the red carpet for you all and start accessing this material. I don't want you to go anywhere. Stay there. Go bookmark the website for Florida IPDAE's curriculum, AE curriculum matrix, so that you already have that. On your screen, you will see a survey pop up. We'd like to get your feedback. It's a very quick 3-4 question survey, 1 to 2 minutes. Let us know what you think. We use your feedback to develop future training modules for our webinar Wednesdays here in Florida IPDAE. With that said, I want to say thank you for coming this afternoon, and I will see you guys next week for when we cover the math. Have a wonderful rest of the afternoon.